Hello and welcome to Nicki Talks. Nicki Talks is a series of interviews with Cape Ann people because I think we're all curious to find out more about each other, what's on our minds, what makes us tick. And I'm a storyteller by nature or by craft, and I know that there's great power in the stories that we share with each other. So today my guest is Matt Natti, who I've known probably since he was a fairly young person. Welcome, Matt. What is your actual full name?
Matthew Stephen Natti with a PH.
Okay, got it. So how many T's are in that name?
There's a whole bunch of them. just four.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking about it when I was writing out your name. I was thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, but I didn't know about the Stephen.
That's five. Yeah, all right. Holy smokes.
No, that's PH.
Well, the
Oh,
T.
ST.
Yeah, so that's
Got
five.
it. So can you tell me a little bit about, I wanted to start just by talking a little bit about your kind of like where you come from, your people, your tribe.
The tribe, yeah.
The tribe.
So the tribe comes from the backwoods of Lanesville, most literally. My family bought up the old quarries when they went down, when they went bankrupt in the beginning of the century, and well, it was 30s or 40s, and it was just big holes in the ground, and they've slowly grown up to be just amazing parcels of woods and big family. My grandfather was one of 12, had 12 siblings, so there's a lot of us natties running around, and we sort of occupied a lot of Lanesville, and that's where my roots are, and that's where I'm going to stay.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us, especially Lanesville people like myself, have spent a lot of time over the years saying, okay, that Natti is related to that Natti because that Natti is an uncle or a brother or a father. So the 12 siblings would have been the generation of Robert Natti.
Yep.
And your father's father.
Jimmo Natti.
Jimmo?
Jimmo.
Jimmo Natti.
Ilmari was his actual name, but everybody just called him Jimmo.
Ah, okay. And then all their offspring.
Yep.
Yeah, so that is a big tribe.
That's a big tribe.
And I didn't realize that actually the roots really went all the way back to Lanesville.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the Natti family came over escaping the being a part of the Russian-Finnish war in the late 1800s. And they came over and just made their best as they could, having a small farm in Lanesville.
Yeah, hard to farm in Lanesville.
Well, you get lots of Cape Ann potatoes, which are chunks of rock.
Yeah, Cape Ann potatoes. That's right. Do you have a Finnish version of your name? Or you were American enough to be Matthew?
Well, I mean, I am Matthew Natti, and everyone just calls me Matty Natti. But if you said it in with the Finnish accent, it would be Matti Natti.
Matti Natti.
So I guess that's about as Finnish as it's going to get.
I like it. That's wonderful. And you yourself live in Lanesville?
I myself live in Lanesville. I technically live in Bayview, but
that's true.
I'm close. My house is close enough to Lanesville that it's quicker to walk through the woods and get to downtown Lanesville than it is to walk down to the end of the road and be in Bayview. So therefore,
walk down Washington Street.
I'm a Lanesviller.
Yeah. That's good that you have that worked out. It's an important distinction.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's like people who live in Bayview say they live in Annisquam.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
So Robert was your uncle.
Great uncle, yes.
Great uncle. Okay. And so Lee is your great aunt.
Correct.
And your cousin Susie, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Susie and Peter.
Susie and Peter. Yeah, I have a story just quickly to share about your great uncle Robert. When I was a senior in Gloucester High School, we moved, which is the worst thing anybody's ever done to anybody.
Sure.
And Jeffrey and I moved to Warwick, Rhode Island.
You left Gloucester?
Yeah.
Terrible. Okay.
We were too young to have much say, but we went with my mother, my parents, and my stepfather. And I was so miserable. I went to this big high school, double session, never made a friend, which wasn't not my nature. And so I sent a letter to your great uncle Robert Natti because he was my guidance counselor at Gloucester High. And I just, poured my heart out and said, I'm so miserable. My life is ruined, like you would if you were 17. And he started calling me. So he would call me once or twice a week, the whole entire academic year, just to say, like, hang in there.
Yep.
You're going to be okay.
Yep.
And every weekend I would go back to Gloucester with my brother.
He had quite an effect on a lot of people.
He really did. He was a remarkable person. I'm sure some of there's so many natties. I'm sure there are a lot of remarkable natties. Some of them were Folly Cove designers.
Yep, there was two. Well, so Ano Natty was he was one of the siblings, and he was a Folly Cove designer. Lee Kingman Natty, who was married to Robert, was a natty by name, but a very welcome addition to the family.
Yeah, and very active in the Folly Cove designers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My grandfather, Jim-O, did block printing. He was never formally a part of the Folly Cove designers, but he was sort of a Folly Cove designer groupie and hung out at the barn a lot and helped out with stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty special place. I don't think anything like it these days. So just as a general kind of question, I'd be interested to hear your answer. What does it really mean to you to be a natty?
The running joke is it's Lanesville royalty.
Yes, I love it.
To be a natty is to be a part of an amazing community, because the natties in general are good people. They're very active in the lives of people around them. The running joke about Finns is, a Finn really likes you if he looks at your feet instead of his own when he's talking to you. And to some degree, that's true, that the natties can be fairly quiet, but they have a way of really getting involved with the lives of the people around them. Yeah. We don't necessarily have lots and lots and lots of friends, but we've got the people who we really care about, which gives a really strong feeling of community, tribe.
Yeah, that really rings true. I mean, just for my natty experience and the kind of thoughtfulness behind it is,
Yeah.
So along with nattiness comes sauna.
Yes.
So maybe you could talk a little bit about sauna. You probably were in a bucket in sauna when you were a wee one, and you do now.
2 weeks old was my first sauna. So sauna is my church, as it were. It's not a religious experience, but it is, again, a community experience. It's a place that you can go, and whatever is going on in your life, you can let it go, or you can share it. It's a place that you can open up. You've got friends, you've got family that are there every week. It's kind of like Cheers. You walk in, hey, Norm, and there's very little that you can hide when you're wearing nothing and hanging out with a bunch of friends. So
right. Got to be a little transparent in that situation.
Exactly. Yeah. And I personally think that everyone should have one, or at least get to experience a good sauna every once in a while. It keeps you clean on the inside and on the outside.
Yeah. And it's good. It's good for I've read it's good for your organs.
It's
your
good.
Liver.
They have
all
sorts of stuff that say that you live longer and you're less stressed and all of this and that. Yeah, sure. That's the science end of it. I just love what it does for the soul.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So let's talk a little bit about what you do now. I know that you work with trees.
Yes.
So would you describe yourself as an arborist? Is that the right word?
Well, arborist, I consider myself an artiste. So
yeah.
there are people who go out and run chainsaws and hack up trees and run them through a chipper. The goal of Cape Ann Tree Service is to really focus on the artisanal aspect of tree, landscape, backyard design. Rather than just cutting a tree down because people don't want to clean up their leaves, we offer a service where we can clean up the leaves. We offer a service where we can take a tree that could be considered hazardous and reduce the hazard level by making the tree smaller, by cable bracing. I want people to be outdoors. I want people to be able to enjoy their outdoor living space. So I want people to be able to go outside and say, I like the way this looks, the tree, the backyard, the masonry work in their property, whatever. And so we offer that as a full package with a feeling of, I don't want to be stuck indoors, so I want to make being in your backyard more pleasant for me by making it a more beautiful place, working with the environment, having a happy, healthy surrounding for everyone that I work with and the people who are actually paying me to do the work on their property.
And do you offer a masonry component?
Yep, we do. We basically try to do everything that you need in your backyard. We even do a treehouse component. We actually build tree houses.
That's good to know.
It is. It's spectacular.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yep.
And so are you sometimes, you must be sometimes faced with a situation where there is a tree or trees that are not healthy or not good for that particular environment, and then you have to take them down?
Right. I mean, we certainly have the skill set to be able to do it.
Yeah.
We pride ourselves on being able to do it the good old-fashioned way. We don't have a 30-ton crane or a 60-ton crane. We throw on a harness, we put on a rope, we go up with a chainsaw, and we take it apart. We can do that over a house using technical rigging skills. It's deconstructing a puzzle in three-dimensional space as opposed to constructing a puzzle in three-dimensional space, which is kind of cool that you're working on so many different levels and working with physics and science and the biology of the tree to do what's best for it. If you're only taking a couple of branches, you still are working at making the tree look good, be healthy. If you're taking it down, you're doing it with the smallest amount of impact in the environment around it.
And reverence, I would think, to some
Absolutely.
extent.
Yep.
Yeah. So is there a tree, for us to think about on Cape Ann that is either invasive or harmful in any way to our environment?
The Norway maple is sort of the go-to bad tree.
Yeah, bad tree, right.
There's a lot of them. It's not like we're going to remove them all, but given the choice, if you've got 3 trees on the property that are all clogging each other out, better to leave the sugar maple, better to leave the red maple, better to leave a nice white oak. I've got a soft spot in my heart for white oak.
I was going to ask you what your favorite tree was.
So my favorite tree sort of on Cape Ann, I would say, is a white oak. As far as a tree that's just amazing to climb, white oaks are great, sycamores are amazing, and a big beech tree is always a pleasure because just the smooth bark, the structure of the branching, they're a treat to be in.
Wow. And so I remember as we're talking that you were a rock climber extraordinaire. Do you still rock climb?
I still rock climb when I can. It turns out that owning a business that you do tree work, you don't really get to climb all that much anymore. I'm more a people manager at this stage of the game.
Yeah.
But the office has a rock climbing wall in the office. We have a rock climbing wall so that the guys can come up after work and goof around on the climbing wall.
Practice their tree climbing skills.
It's a very interesting crossover. There's a lot of things you learn about tree climbing from rock climbing, and there's a lot of things you learn from about rock climbing from doing tree climbing, and so you have 2 different tool bags, and when you can combine them, you're that much better at both aspects, which is neat.
Yeah. So one last tree question: is there? How do you, I guess, professionally and emotionally, spiritually deal with the threat to the environment in general, and especially trees? I mean, is that something that's like present in your life when you're working on the land and in people's environments, natural environments? Are you aware of thinking like, oh man, there's this tree is threatened, or there's this one, and because of what we've done pollution-wise on the earth environmentally?
The sad reality of it is that we'll kill ourselves off before we kill off the environment. We'll try real hard, but Mom's strong, and Mom will win. Mom will put us in our places. And if you look at the forest as a whole, it's sad to see some of the changes, but life is change. Things are fluid. And I think so long as we as individuals strive to improve our little area, that should spread out globally.
Yeah, that's a great hope.
Hopefully.
Yeah. That's a great hope. So I heard a little rumor about you when I told people that I was going to be interviewing you for Nicki Talks, and it related to something that I imagine happens you have to deal with all the time because you're outside. Ticks.
Yes, creepy and crawly.
So how do you deal with ticks? Both because you have, how many staff people work for you?
Busy season, there's 35 people
Yeah.
who are there full time.
Yeah, so they all have to deal with ticks probably.
Yeah, everyone has to deal with ticks. So there's pyrethrum spray for pants. There's, just using DEET product. It's part of life. I mean, you get poison ivy, you get ticks.
Yeah.
If you're outdoors, it's an occupational hazard, I suppose.
Yeah.
I've been known to just grab them and
That's kind of what I heard.
yeah, it's
Somebody said, "Did you know that Natti eats his ticks?"
no, I don't. I don't actually.
And I
eat
said,
ticks.
"No, I did not know that. I think I better ask him."
No, so that's not a true statement.
Okay, good.
I have never
I'm glad we
eaten a tick.
clarified.
I have crunched them up and spit them, and it's more of
See,
a.
that's the thing that legends are made of,
Yeah,
right there.
exactly. But I eat poison ivy too.
Do you?
Yeah,
It's sort of a homeopathic approach.
exactly. I don't
Does it
know.
work?
I very rarely get poison ivy, and when I do, it's very, very small amounts of it. So you start eating the poison ivy when it's very small in
Yeah,
the beginning of
I
the
was gonna
season,
say,
and
yeah.
you just keep having little bits throughout the season. So far, so good. The ticks
Yeah.
still crawl on me,
Yeah.
despite the fact that I chew them up occasionally.
It's similar to the, people eat raw local honey.
Yep.
To help with allergies
Yep.
because the bees have pollinated all the allergens.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm going to ask you a bunch of sort of general questions.
Pink.
So, for example,
Yes.
if you could build anything right now, what would it be?
Gosh, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I'd probably build myself a proper barn. If I had the time and the money, I'd build myself a proper barn so that I could have a karate training space on the upper floor, a workspace down below, and a really big, amazing granite chimney going up through the middle of it. Just because I've always wanted to have a big 2.5, 3-story granite chimney.
Is there a chimney in your house?
There is a chimney inside my house, but it's a brick chimney and
Just
it's
a regular-
inside the walls, so you can't
Yeah.
really see it.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
to have a big, huge granite heat sink chimney would just be amazing. So you build the barn as the excuse to have the
Yeah,
big
gotcha.
chimney.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great idea. You do have a barn, don't you, up there?
I've got a shed. I don't have a
shed.
barn. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have a sauna,
I've got a sauna.
and you have a pool?
I have a pool, which I am working on converting to a living pool, which means you stop using any of the chemicals and you basically build a water garden that's the same size as the pool. And then the water comes out of the pool, filters through the water garden, and all of the plants act as your filter system and remove all of the pathogens. And that way you have clean water without having to use any chemicals.
That's a great idea.
And it's, that way when you've got frogs and things jumping in your pond, because I live in the woods, you're not killing all of the frogs and salamanders with chlorine. You
Yeah.
just have, I don't mind swimming with frogs. I've been doing it my whole life.
Yeah, no, frogs are all good.
Lanesville style.
And are there like ducks or other?
We occasionally have ducks in the pool. We have a pond on the property, and we have Mr. and Mrs. Mallard. And
I think I've seen Mr. and Mrs.
Mr. Mallard hang out. We've got Mrs. Mallard sitting on 12 eggs right now.
Jack, hack, lack, mac, mac, whack, pack.
They will be coming soon. Coming soon to a pond near us.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to that. So
Yes, that's very
my
exciting for your
my
kids.
daughters are very excited.
Oh,
about it.
yeah. So I want to know about that too.
Oh, we'll let you
So
know.
that ducks are my, spirit animal. So I'm gonna be all about it.
Fantastic.
So tell me about karate.
Karate is awesome. It's my outlet in life right now. It's the only thing that I have outside of my sauna, which I get to have routinely, that I can compartmentalize. Everything else goes away. It's moving meditation. It's not about fighting. It's not about beating people up. It's about learning how to use your body efficiently and learning how to problem solve and learning how to deal with situations. And you find it creeping into every aspect of your life when you get into it. Walking down the street, you carry yourself differently. I think that people who are looking for predators who are looking for a victim will see somebody with martial arts training and see them as not a good target just because they carry themselves
Yeah, I can believe
in a
that.
more alert,
Sure.
aware situation. So I've been doing it for 20 years. I'm teaching it down on Pleasant Street at the Magma.
Oh, you are?
At the Magma Studio.
Yeah. Excellent.
On Tuesdays and Thursdays. And
And do you have a mix of ages there?
it's open to teens through adults.
Okay.
We don't have very many people. We've only got about 7 people who show up routinely right now. But hoping to build the club to, a good sound group of people because it's fun. It's fun interacting with other humans and
Sure.
being involved. It's a
Right.
dance.
Yeah. So what's the problem-solving element of it? Like in normal life, is it?
It gives you that Zen mentality of being able to stop and clear your mind for a second and look at what your options are. In karate, everything's moving very quickly, so that problem solving speeds up where, okay, I've just made this block, now I have to do this counter.
Okay. That's what I'm
How
talking
I
about.
can, in a fighting situation, in a sparring situation, you learn how to draw people in so that you can make somebody else do something that you want them to do so that then you have the advantage on the battlefield, as it were.
Yep.
And I use that in life as well.
Yeah.
Being able to figure out how I can manipulate the situation around me, not in a devious or mischievous way, but in a way that makes it so that it makes my life easier.
Well, and hopefully it's a greater purpose.
Exactly.
For whatever is going on.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a couple more general questions, and then there's something we want to do at the end. But is there something that you just really wish that you haven't done yet? I guess you bucket list kind of question, like, because you have a lot of energy. You said while we were waiting, I can't stand standing still, so I get that. But I wonder if there's something you sometimes think, man, I would really like to.
One of these days, I'm going to skydive.
Skydive.
It
makes sense.
It's the ultimate adrenaline rush, apparently, according to people. And I'd like to travel more. I'd like to see more places in the world. I'd like to eat more interesting foods. But if you want the big, hey, what's the one thing that if you had tomorrow, I'd jump out of a plane. Why not?
Yeah.
I've jumped off of bridges tied to a rope.
Bungee things?
Well, not bungee. It's a rope swing. So you
okay.
basically have the bridge. You run a rope underneath the bridge. You jump off this side, and it swings through to the other side. And in New Zealand, it was perfectly legal to do that. So you'd go out with a 150-foot rope, tie it to the edge of a bridge, and jump off. And we did that after going to the pub and having a pint. Hey, let's go jump off the bridge. All right, cool.
Good. Yeah.
Not necessarily recommended for everybody, but
No.
we had a good time doing it.
No. Well, it's probably maybe, sort of the alternative for going out and getting a bunch of tattoos. You can
sure.
After you have some beer,
Sure.
you can jump off the bridge.
Yep.
And so what do you feel in your life thus far has been the greatest challenge that you've met?
I would say at this stage of the game, it is taking on owning a big company. I'm really good at doing tree work, but owning a tree company is not doing tree work.
Yeah, no,
It's
I'm
managing
sure.
people.
Right.
It's managing problems.
Right.
And that's been the biggest challenge for me. I took over Cape Ann Tree Service. I bought it out from the old owners who I had worked for 15 years. So I knew the company inside and out.
Right.
Rather, I knew the outside. I didn't know the inside. And having to learn how to be a good business owner has been a huge strain on me, but also one of the most exciting challenges that I've taken on at the same time.
And probably a big learning curve.
Very huge learning curve.
Yeah, I would guess.
My wife is an angel for helping me through all of this process.
She's got some gifts and talents in that direction.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got the vision and the drive to do this, and she's got a lot of business sense, having done development work and working in nonprofits in dealing with financial stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's excellent.
The two of us
it's wonderful coming
work
together.
quite well together.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Okay, so one last general question, then I'd like to talk a little bit about New Zealand and
Okay.
end with New Zealand. So if there was something that if you were a teacher, let's say, and there was something that you really wanted to impart to like a lesson or an idea or a concept that you feel is really important for people to understand, what comes to mind?
I am a teacher. It's something, everything that I have in my life, I try to share with people.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that I always try to share with people, regardless of what the activity is that you're doing, have fun with it.
Yeah.
And if you're not having fun with it, don't do it. Take pride in what you're doing
good lesson.
and enjoy it.
That's a great lesson.
Life's too short to bumble around and be grumpy about being stuck in doing something that you don't want to do. We've got lots of choices, and
Yeah.
you can always tweak something just a little bit so that you can find the happiness in it.
Yeah. So we're almost out of time, but
Okay.
I wanted to end with, I know that you were in New Zealand,
Yes.
and you were there for
4 years.
4 years, and traveled around and saw, sounds like
Amazing things.
amazing things, to sum it up. But we have just a couple of minutes, really just 1.5 minutes. So I would like to ask you if we could end the show with your playing the didgeridoo.
Which
Am I
has
saying that
nothing,
right?
Yes, which has nothing to do with New Zealand.
Oh,
It's
it
an
doesn't?
Australian
It's
instrument.
Australian, okay.
This is what I play with the Treehouse Charlatans, which is our silly band of bluegrass with a didge. And
Yeah.
It's a tree that I cut down in Beverly Farm, so it's locally sourced, and I get to make farty noises with it.
Oh, sounds good. Wow. Thank you very much. It looks very physical.
It's just a drone. Everything outside of the drone comes from your soul. It's all vocalizations. It's all what's stuck in your head, and you just blurt it out through a big wooden tube.
Wow. I've heard it before, but never quite so intimately. You know. It's pretty fabulous. Well, thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Matt. Nice to see you and nice to be with you.
Yay!
Thank you.
What fun!
Yeah.
Go Cape Ann.
Yeah, go Cape Ann. Go Lanesville.